Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krito Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaye Shuddha-jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Apyayantu mamangani
Apyayantu mamangani
Vak prana chakshushotramato balamindriyani cha sarvani
Vak pranashchakshushrottramayo balamindriyani cha sarvani
Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam
Sarvam
Sarvam
Brahma
Brahma
Upanishadam
Upanishadam
Aham Brahma Nirakuryam
Aham Brahma
Maham Brahma
Nirakuryam
Nirakuryam
Mama Brahma Nirakarot
Mama Brahma
Mama Brahma
Nirakarot
Nirakarot
Anirakaranamastvanirakaranam me astu
Anirakaranamastvarnirakaraname
Anirakaraname Astu
astu
Tadatmani nirate ya Upanishadsu dharmas te mayi santu te mayi
Tadatmani
Tadatmani
santu
nirate
Nirate
Upanishadsu dharmaste mai
Astu
santu
Santu, Temai Santu,
Om
Temai
Shanti
Santu
Shanti Shanti.
Shanti.
Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Having taught Brahma Vidya in some detail, the Upanishad resorts to a story format. Like all our scriptures tend to do. We have the Shruti, which tells us the truth, which reveals the truth. Then we have all the Titihasas, Puranas, etc. in mostly story format, so that we can more easily understand and then go back and study them, study the original Upanishads, so that our understanding becomes firm. So this Upanishad also resorts to the story format. What is the story? Very briefly, the Devas fought with the Asuras. This happens in every Puranic story. And the Devas won. In all those stories also you will find that Devas take help from Ishvara. And they defeat the Asuras. Asuras are those which work purely on their ego. I can do this, I can do that. 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also has. There is nobody like me. Whereas the Devas are a little more perceptive, or expected to be more perceptive, and understand that while there is their effort, that is not adequate to achieve anything. They need Ishvara's grace. That's the essential difference between Devas and Asuras. In this case, the story, the Devas forget that. and go about boasting, we won, this victory is ours, we defeated them. When you say, I did this, you are assigning an individuality without the understanding of what I is. Anytime anybody says, I am strong, I did this, I am intelligent, I can speak very well, I can play hockey very well, whatever the claim about I, it automatically refers to the individual ego. And what is the Upanishad taught so far? There is the individual senses, the individual strength, the individual capacity to think, intelligence. None of them has any existence on its own. Therefore, the answer to that question of the student was Shrutasya Shrutram, Manaso Manaha, Pranasya Pranaha. There is something which is behind, which makes it happen. Here is a situation where the Devas attribute their strength and the result of their strength, their victory, to the I wrongly. And all the time, the first two chapters, it made very clear that there is no such I which can exist, which can operate, any sense, any strength, none of which can operate on its own without that one adhisthana, support factor, the factor of Ishvara's grace, Brahman, which makes all this happen. Bhagavan says in the 6th chapter, remember, Balam Balavatam Tejas Tejasvinam Aham. I am the Tejas in a Tejasvi. I am the Balam in the Balavan. I am the intelligence in the intelligent. I am the strength in the strong. That one forgets, one attributes every strength, every mahima, every vibhuti, one usurps to oneself, the individual ego. This is what the Devas did. They forgot Shrotasya Shrotram. Now, Devas are Punya Janmas. And they are more sattvic in character. And therefore more ready to gain that knowledge, provided it is taught to them. That is the other part of the story effect. On their own, they can't get it. Somebody has to teach them. Even the Devas have to be taught by somebody. This knowledge, which results in the clarity of understanding and mokṣa, therefore, is not available either to Manushya or to Deva without the teaching of the Shastra by a guru. This is also part of what comes out in the story. And then Parameshwara is represented as self-effulgent Yaksha. Parameshwara has no attributes as Brahman. But with the Maya Upadhi, we get that Brahman as a combination of all bhaga, all attributes, totality of all attributes. Here in the story, the Yaksha appears as an effulgent being, something that even the Devas have not seen. This part of the story again relates back to what we saw in the second chapter. Vak Devata is Agni. Agni tries to approach and know Brahman as Vak Devata. Very powerful. Agni goes and comes back unsuccessful, where that ego displayed by the Agni Devata is punctured. Agni Devata goes, oh, I'll find out who is this. And introduces himself, not only as Agni Devata, but as Jata Vedas. And says, I can burn anything at all. Just to bring down that ego a few notches, he's given a dry, small piece of trinam. And said, all right, burn it. Now, the interpretation of this thing is that Ishvara being Ishvara, Agni cannot say, I will not do all this. Why should I prove myself to you? Agni goes and does that. Agni goes and tries to burn. Tries his best. Comes back with his ego punctured completely. Knowing that Vak cannot describe it. That also is there in the second chapter. That Vachana Abhyudate. That Vak Abhyudhyate. Which makes Vak walk. Not walk, walk. So Agni cannot come back and describe Brahman. You can see the match in the story with the Upadesha. Then prana is balam. Everything actually works only because of prana. Prana goes power, strength. I can lift anything. Again, with punctured ego, unable to find out, prana, vayu comes back. Prana na praniyate, yena prana pranite praniyate is made alive by which? All the senses culminate in the mind. Senses cannot operate without the backing of the mind. all senses represented by the mind is the king of all indriyas. He also goes. And he can't approach Brahman. Brahman simply disappears. Again, that ego with which Indra went is brought down. Yep. Manasana manute. Mind cannot find out on its own. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. Manas also goes and comes back along with the Vak and everybody else. Cannot reach the Dhamma. And comes back and says, I can't find. All of them, except Indra, now having understood that my ego is standing in the way. My individuality is what is creating the problem because there is a mistake there. He meditates upon that yaksha on the same spot. Meditates, he contemplates. And in the same spot where the yaksha was and disappeared from, Uma appears in the form of a stree. Uma is Brahma Vidya. Shastra is also called Uma. Again, it is what is said earlier. You cannot, this is jnanam, one cannot learn on one's own. One needs the Shastra, Brahma Vidya, taught by a guru. And this is what Indra also recognizes. So at the end of the third chapter, we saw Uma appeared and our Indra asked him, Tasminne avakashe, tasminne vakashe, striyam ajagama appeared, he approached. What kind of stree? Effulgent, bahu shobhamanam, manam. And Uma, Haimavati, approached her, the one who appeared there, Haimavati, the daughter of Himavan. And realizing that he has to learn from somebody, realizing that there's Uma in front of him, he says, Kim yetat yaksham. Please teach me knowledge of this Brahman. Who went directly to Brahman, all the devas, nothing happened. They couldn't even approach Brahman. Their ego got busted and they could not find out because they tried finding out on their own, on the strength of their very strong ego. I can find out. I am a great scholar of Sanskritam. I've studied all the Upanishads, Vedas and everything else. I am very intelligent. I am very strong. I can do anything. I will find out myself. Only when Indra brought himself down and said, please tell me who is this Yaksha. That is where we left it last time. Indra asking, Uma, please teach me knowledge of this Brahman, of this Yaksha. He didn't know as yet that this is Brahman. But he knew that he is dealing with not an ordinary Yaksha. So he said, Sa Brahma iti hovacha. Uma revealed, Uma showed, told him that that was Brahman. Sa Brahma iti hovacha. Then with that teaching, that this is Brahman, and all that you are celebrating is not your doing, is not your strength, is not your mahima. Any mahima, any glory you see anywhere in the world, in any individual or in groups of individuals, doesn't belong to them. There is no individual. Everything belongs to Parameshvara. We can't even say, I have a part of it. That part that you have doesn't even exist on its own. That part that I think I have doesn't even exist on its own. So Uma tells Indra, that was Brahman, that Yaksha you saw. You saw means what? Is only recognize that there is something. All these devatas recognized this very special, self-effulgent, brilliant Yaksha who they couldn't figure out. Issa Brahma iti hovacha Brahmano va etat vijaye mahiyadvam iti. All this you're celebrating. The victory that you said is yours. And therefore the mahima there is there. The glories that you are thinking that is yours. All that belongs to Brahman. Brahmanaha va etat vijaye. This victory belongs to Brahman. Without Brahman, there is no such thing. No victory, no loss, no nothing. Mahiyadvam. The glories that you are seeing, you are being glorified. Everybody is coming and saying, wow, 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 what did you do? Fantastic. You fought all those big asuras, you killed them, you destroyed them. You didn't do anything. Nimitta matram bhava savyasachan. Bhagavan tells Arjuna, don't think you're going to kill all these people. You're not going to do anything. You're only nimitta. Etat vijaye mahiyadvamiti. In typical Upanishad language, very cryptic half sentences. That was Brahman. Because of that Brahman, you won this battle with the Asuras. All that glory that you are now enjoying, all that people are glorifying you, not yours. Only because of Brahman. Shrotasya shrotram manaso manoyat. It all belongs to Parameshvara. Having heard this, like I said, it's all cryptic half sentences. But you have to understand that this whole Upadesha has been given to Indra. We struggle years and years and years of studying. I remember in the very first year that we were studying with Swami G, he said, I am going to tell you only one thing. Tat Tvamasi. Next year when you come back, when we continue the classes, I will now tell you Tat Tvamasi. Later also I will tell you Tat Tvamasi. Any time during the period you understand what it is, you can go home. Doesn't register. If you are a Deva, hopefully register faster. Even Devas, if you read Chandogya Upanishad, 30 years, again and again and again and again, again and again. Go, come back, go, come back, go, come back. So one would assume that this, although given in such cryptic sentences, implies a lot more. There's a lot of Upadesha that's happening. I mean, this whole Upanishad, we saw that the entire Upanishad is contained only in those few verses in the first and second chapter. Upanishad is complete. But to understand each one of them, assimilate it, see for myself, aparokshataya, the truth of the self. It takes time. So here also we assume that although Uma said in one simple sentence, Indra understood. Tataha yaha iva Vidanchakara Brahma iti. Vidanchakara, he understood, he knew. So maybe Uma taught him in some detail. Maybe being Indra, the king of Devatas, and being full of Sattvika Guna, took less time to understand, but he understood Brahman. He understood, I am Brahman. He understood, other than that Brahman, there is nothing else. Aham Atma Brahma Anyat Sarvam Mithya Anatma. Non-self-existent. Everything else which appears to be there, including whatever I thought was I earlier. Wherever Indra sat there and said, I won this war, or we won this war. All that I is anatma, mithya. Does not exist on its own. Borrows its existence, satta and spurti from Brahman. Understood. He was able to cast aside the sense of individuality, saying there is no individual. Then itself he understood Vidanchakara Brahma iti. Understood that is Brahman. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. He understood that this is I. The lakshyartha of Satyam, the lakshyartha of Jnanam, the lakshyartha of Anantam. All of which mean the same thing. Not the word meaning. not something which is elsewhere, in any place or any time, but the very content of everything. He is Brahman, he is I. So Indra understood. Having understood, having gained the Brahma Vidya, Brahma Jnanam, Tasmad va ete devaha atitaram iva anyan devan. These three devas, Agni, Vayu and Indra, Tasmat, why? Tasmat means because of. Because of what? Because they had the great punya to interact with Brahman. You can't interact with Brahman. I am Brahman. How come I'm going to interact with Brahman? There's a story. That means they were close to getting the idea of Brahman, Brahma Jnanam. And having got there, these devas, ete devaha, atitaram iva anyan devan. Compared to other devas, they became superior, they became more. Again, each of these words, please take with a bucket of salt. This is a story we're trying to understand. Through the story, the reality of the self. So these three devas, Te Devaha, Agni, Vayu and Indra, Tasmad, why indeed, Ete Devaha Atitaram iva Anyan Devan Yat Agnihi Vayuhu Indraha Tehi Yetat Nedishtam Pasparshuhu. They came in contact with, close contact with Brahman, meaning Brahma Jnanam. Agni, Vayu and Indra, the Devatas, came in close contact with Brahma Jnanam, came close to understanding Brahma Jnanam. Now we understand when somebody takes the effort to study Vedanta, even if the person hasn't got the essence, the vision, the very fact that a person has gone this far, the person becomes, word uses here is Atitaram Iva. Remember, there's an Iva here also. In many places you will find the Iva happening. As though they are superior. Very fact that they have had access to this knowledge, they are better off. Only in one sense, the ultimate goal is to gain this knowledge, which is the freedom from absolute freedom called mokṣa. So compared to somebody who doesn't even know that such a thing exists, one is better off. So te agnihi vayuhu indraha nedishtam pasparshuhu, came in close contact with. Yat agnihi vayuhu indraha te hi etat nedishtam pasparshuhu Yenat means this yaksha, this Brahman seen in the form of this yaksha. Brahman, we mean Brahmajnanam. Te hi yenat prathamaha vidanchakara brahmeti. Among the devas, they were the first to come to know of this Brahman. Even then, they can't go around saying, I know Brahman. Aham janami is not a statement he can make. The Guru's already said, if you Suvedeti, then you need to study more. But they have been the closest to knowing this. They have come a long way. This yaksha to be Brahman, they've understood. And what kind of feeling they would have got, knowing that we've had the great fortune meaning punya, to have had this kind of close access. And it takes a great feeling. And they were Prathamaha Vidanchakara. They were the first to know that yaksha is Brahman. All their efforts individually, when they made on their own, they could not know who this yaksha is. But having been in close contact with Brahman itself or Brahmajnanam itself, they are as though superior to all the other devatas. So because of that association with that Brahman in the form of yaksha, they became as though superior to other devas. So these three devas, Agni, Vayu, and Indra, had come in close contact with this knowledge, with yaksha, with Brahman, Brahmajnanam, and they were the first to know this yaksha to be Brahman. Tasmad vai Indraha atitaram iva anyan devan. Of them also, who are the first to really know that this yaksha is Brahman? Not Agni, not Vayu, but Indra. Because he had the humility to discard his ego, meditate upon that yaksha, knowing that there's something very special, having had further punya in the form of access to this vidya, seen here in the story in the form of Uma. And from that Uma, directly gaining this knowledge. So while all these three were as though superior to other devas, Indra was the first to really know. Presumably, Indra, when he knew, he came back and taught these two other devas, and perhaps some other devas. But he was the first to know among the devas. It says here, Tasmad vai Indraha atitaram iva anyan devan. Saha hi yenat nedishtam pasparsha. Same, because he came closest to accessing this and was able to actually access it, because he was able to learn from Shastra. Sahahi enat prathamaha vidanchakara brahmeti. He's the first to know. He came back and taught the others. Indra was the first to know that this yaksha is Brahman. Because of that association with not only that yaksha, whom he approached, and then the yaksha disappeared because he tried to approach it as an object. All the while it's been made clear that Brahman cannot be an object as you. He approached, but he had the humility to sit down there and do meditation and learn from Uma directly. He became superior to all other, as though all Deva, other devas. And he was the first to come to know this Brahman, this yaksha as Brahman. So even devas have this issue. Manushya also has an issue. We don't know. We make all kind of assumptions. Make an ass of you and I, you and me, assume. And all the wrong assumptions. And then we thump the table, say this is the only way. Because we made some assumptions without seeing where the fallacy in our assumption is. But we have been given the discriminative capacity. If we have adequate punya to study the Veda, particularly the Vedanta, the end portion of it, with a guru, and be able to discriminate atman and anatma. I am atma, or I is atma, anyat sarvam anatma. Not just anatma, all mithya. I exist only in the form of consciousness. That consciousness which is behind everything, physical or non-physical, whose existence makes the existence of everything else possible, whose existence makes every other function as it should. That's why we call this Parameshwara, the order. Every order in this Jagat, from the smallest atom, how the electrons go round the nucleus in a very clear order, through to the physiological order, the psychological order, the cosmic order. So when initially we were told Ishvara is in the form of order, it may not be very clear. But now as you see this, you can see what it means. That consciousness. My Swarupa is only Chaitanyam, Chinmayam. All these words you will hear again and again. That makes everything else exist and function. Satta and Smurti. So even devatas have to be taught. Devatas, like we said in one of the earlier classes, are only a little bit of exalted beings have more sattva, more punya, and therefore more punya phala. But they need the same kind of teaching that we as Manushya need. If they don't get the teaching, even devas, whichever loka they are in, when their punya finishes, they have to take another sharira. They have now got a deva sharira. Just like Manushya. Either one gains this knowledge and the need for sharira disappears, or one doesn't gain this knowledge and one takes another sharira. Devas also have taken this sharira. So centered on the deva, adidaivatam. Even for devas, this is given. And the Shruti now takes it to the next step and says, how do I explain this? Done all that, all the explanation has been done. But takes another step called Adesha. Through an example for something which is cannot use an example because there is no example. You heard the word Anupama. A lot of girls are named Anupama. But I don't know if they know what that means. For which there is no Upama. There is no example. And that is Brahman. You can't have an example. Any example you have can only exemplify a little bit. So for the Devatas, the Shruti takes it there. The questions that were asked by the student in the beginning is very much adhyatmikam, centered on the individual. What makes the eyes eye? On whose order does the mind land where it lands? That is all adhyatmikam. Yeah, the examples are the Daivitam. We can also understand that. Tasya esha adeshaha. That Brahman, which is Anupama, here is an adesha. Upama adesha. Through an example to try and understand the Brahman. Now we've seen that Upadesha already there. We also seen one story which is used to try and make us understand. Now he's using an example. Tasya esha adeshaha. Interesting. Tat yetad vidyuto vyadyutada. You see that three pluta, three matras. So there's three matras. This is only to indicate here in this context. Iva. You see this pluta in also Taittiriya Upanishad, but more in the form of question. Here in the form of a Iva. Tasya esha adeshaha yat edat etat vidyutaha vyadyutada. Matra is only in this context a length of sound. Hraswa, Dirgha and Puta. 1 matra, 2 matras and 3 matras. Yesha adeshaha tasya etad vidyutaha vyadyutad. Vidyuta is lightning. And vyadyuta, vyadyutada, vyadyutad is flash, like a flash of lightning. Yaksha was like that. It was self-effulgent, but not reachable. When lightning flashes, we only see it reflected in the clouds. Like that, the Brahman that we try to understand, unless you can understand that is I, it will only be a flash. This instruction, this adesha, upama adesha, given through some kind of comparison. Any comparison anyway cannot be the original. You cannot say to somebody who doesn't know an object by saying it is like another object, only in the form of some characteristics. To go back to our hockey puck example, somebody who's never seen a hockey puck, you can say it is like we've seen a carom striker. Something like that. It's bigger and little thicker. One can visualize what the puck looks like. But it's not the same. If it was the same, there is no example. There's no comparison. Like that here also, this Brahman, tasya yad etad, you can compare to vidyuta. Vidyuta is like lightning, like a flash of lightning. Not only is it like a flash of lightning, when lightning comes, you can't even see it. Eyes automatically close. Like that, it's like the winking of an eye. Immediately it closes. This is the Adidaiva Adesha. Saying that Brahman compared to a flash of lightning or the blinking of an eye. It is neither the eye nor the blinking of the eye. It is neither a lightning nor a flash of lightning, but just to get a sense of what he's saying, that the yaksha which he's trying to find out was like that. So the devatas have been given an example to understand that the yaksha was like lightning, a flash of lightning. With that now, even for the devatas, the upadesha is complete, along with the comparison, an adesha. But with all this, there is always element for not understanding. Already we've gone through some steps He who knows doesn't know. He who doesn't know knows. What kind of statement is that? But we understood that. So here also, although these devatas who had first-hand access to this vidya and have been given the example to try and consolidate it in their head, what else is there? There's nothing more. But there's still a few more verses left in this. What do those verses say? We will examine in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi